What's up, beautiful people, to another episode of Pursuit of Destiny podcast. It's me, Rickey Jones Jr., back again for another episode, another video. If you are watching on YouTube, which either place you're watching, if you're on YouTube, please go ahead and click that subscribe button. We would greatly appreciate it as we are striving to achieve 1,000 subscribers by the end of 2022. And so even if you're listening on this podcast, you can go over to YouTube and find us at Pursuit of Destiny TV, and you'll see this there. You can go ahead and click that subscribe button. But if you're listening on the podcast, if you would click that follow button, we would greatly appreciate that as well, so that we can just grow this community, grow together, learn from each other, and be able to, talk, right? Because I think once you connect with people, you're more apt to communicate and talk with them. It won't just be me talking, but it'll be you there talking as well. But even in this here podcast episode, what I wanted to do is just talk and share my story, largely because I'm in a different program. I'm in a program, right? And so in the program, it's talking about sharing your story so that not only do you know and can connect with those in which you connect with, but you get a chance to just share your story and be able to help people in your story be able to grow to the point in which they want to be. And so if I was to give 3 points of my story, I would say that I lived a good life, right? Growing up with my parents. Even with that life, I lived a life in which I was striving to please my parents, right? Because I knew, right? That was a part of living a good life, is making sure my parents were pleased with me. And then the third part is there was a shift, right? In which I shift from pleasing my parents to pleasing God, right? And so I'm gonna share that. It's my first time sharing stories. Let's go for it. And it starts back. I was born in Augusta, Georgia, right? If you want to get specific, but more than anything, I was raised as the only child in my parents' home. My father had a daughter prior to my mother and father getting married, in which she's still in my life. However, like I said, growing up, it was predominantly me. And so I had the honor and privilege of being the only child. And, say what you want to say about the only child. It is what it is, but I have fun and I enjoyed it, as you would suspect we would. But even with that, right, we didn't want for anything. We lived a great life, very comfortable. I was able to get the different things that I wanted to get, have what I wanted to have. I had all the different snacks that I wanted, and had all the video games that I wanted as well. And so those things weren't a problem in my life. And if I could just put a little caveat right there, that alone, just that good life that I lived, in large part kind of kept me from telling my story, because all the different inspirational stories that I would hear by and from speakers and motivators and different coaches and things like that, they all had rough backgrounds, right? They had crack addict parents and single moms and living homeless and things like that. I didn't have that. But I'm gonna keep going. Because now I'm sharing my story, right? I'm getting comfortable in doing so along this journey. But more than anything, we live good. We live a great life. But even in that life, in that good life, my mother was a military. She was a lieutenant colonel, retired lieutenant colonel. Shouts out to your mom. I love you greatly. My dad, preacher since I was a young child, preacher. And so, he'll preach you happy. He'll close you happy, and it'll be a great message in between. And so that was my upbringing. So needless to say, we was dressed, we was clean, we was fitted. But then also we were under the eyes of members at the church, right? Which is rightfully so. They want to make sure that the preachers are living a good life, and the family is too, because not all preachers have good reps. But my dad, I'm so honored and privileged that my dad kept a good rep and a good name for himself, because that allowed for me different doors to be open and things like that. But in it all, like I said, there was a period in life where I lived life to please them, which, it was fun. I honestly say it was fun because it kept me in line. There were many opportunities to join gangs and different things like that I was presented with that I just didn't do. Why? Because I knew that wouldn't fly in my home. I couldn't come in the house and say I joined a gang, because then I don't even know. And I didn't even allow for my parents to even have that thought. So when opportunities present itself, I was like, no, I'm good. I'll be friends with you all, which I happen to have quite a few friends that had joined gangs, and that's just what it was. But more than anything, they knew that wasn't my thing and that was their thing, but we still gonna be friends. So we, it was what it was. But outside of that, oh, it's funny just to even think about my story, right? But even outside of that, there was a moment in time where I was in third grade. I never forget. Different awards were being handed out. And so the award I was given was being the class clown, which I was quite honored to receive the award because obviously I felt like I did what was necessary far above my other classmates that did not receive the award. So of course, here I am happy about the award, just make sure it was all nicely folded in my book bag, took that bad boy home, and the first person I saw at the time was my mother. I showed her, presented her my certificate, my award, in which she was furious. Like, it was not the reaction that I was expecting or thought would take place, and she was livid. Like, Ricky, why did you bring home this award? I was like, what do you, I mean, this is an award. Like, other people got different awards. I didn't get straight A's than the other ones, but I did get this one, right? And I did get perfect attendance. I was serious about perfect attendance. But nonetheless, I brought that one home and she was livid. She told me don't ever bring home the class clown award. She was going to make sure she went and talked to my teacher about making sure I did not get that award and making sure such activities were not progressively taking place. But nonetheless, it was fun. It was fun. But that's just to even give you a background of who I am. I love having fun. I love entertaining. I love just meeting new people and making new friends, right? And I feel like I don't meet a stranger. If we have 2 minutes of a conversation, it's going to be fun. It's going to be beneficial, unless I don't want to talk, which is probably when I'm sleepy. But outside of that, I grew up and I did life. I had fun. I did what was necessary. And I did what was necessary to get by. My parents wanted A's and B's, so I mean, I got them more B's than A's, but I was able to finish school well and graduated high school, went off to college. Why? Because I felt like that's what you do. I didn't have a plan, but I knew people went to college. I knew we started talking about college randomly in my senior year, and I was like, sure, like, yeah, I found a college. And I only found this college because a person in one of my typing classes, I love typing class, but more than anything, she was telling me about this school, Valdosta State, and I was like, oh, it looks cool. It's like Florida, but it was in Georgia, so it was like in-state fees. So I went to Valdosta, went to orientation, loved it, joined the school, went to the school, had fun, but I was having too much fun that schools and academic wasn't a thing. And so there was a moment in my life where I had to make a shift. I had to make a change. I was pursuing joining a Greek fraternity, which I won't say which one, but I was pursuing that, in which that was teeter-tottering on and off, and it just wasn't consistent enough, and nor was it what I expected it to be. Honestly, like I said, I grew up as the only child in my home, and so I was looking for that brotherhood. I was looking for that camaraderie. Yes, I had that with friends, but I felt like, the Greek fraternity was going to allow for a closer bond, in which, it had elements of it. But as I started getting more and more in it, I realized it wasn't all what I expected it to be. But more than anything, I realized I needed to leave. I need to move because I wanted different. I wanted more. I started praying more. I was like, God, like, this is not it. What do I need to do? And oddly enough, like, even with that, opportunity came because my neighbor at the time, I was living in an apartment, on campus apartment, and my neighbor across the hall came over and was telling me how she was looking at going to LSU because she wanted to go to law school there. And I was like, oh, LSU? Like, I heard about it playing football and stuff like that. Well, not me playing football, but I heard about it on TV, right? ESPN, them playing football. And I was like, oh, let me look at it. And I looked at it and I was like, oh, okay, this is a cool looking school. So I felt like at that moment, that's a school that I needed to go to. Like, that was the answer that I was looking for. And so I called my parents. I was like, Mom, Dad, really, I called my mom. Mom, like, hey, I want to shift schools. Like, I want to go to another school because this school isn't cutting it for me. I know I need to do better. I know I need to be better, do better, and I feel like better is there for me at LSU, right? So here we are. My parents was like, okay, well, let's look at it. So I applied, and I got the opportunity to go for orientation. And on the ride to LSU is a moment in which I will never forget. So again, just keep in mind, like, hey, I lived a life being pleasing to my parents and making sure everything was dressed right. I was out there back then. I dabbled in college, right? I was smoking, but I always had enough sense not to smoke too much because I knew that if the smoking papers, right, was getting too close, it could burn my lips, and I want my lips to get black because if my lips got black, they would know back at home that I was smoking, and I still had to go to my family church. And it's just certain things you just don't do, right? And the life that I was living in college was totally different than the life that they thought I was living when I went back home. Like, I went back home, I was in my suit with my tie, and I was looking very presentable. But when I drove back down to Valdosta, it was reckless. But nonetheless, that's just what it was, right? I was living a dual life because I wasn't living my true life. And so I was still figuring out, I was still finding out, and that's what it looked like at the time. And I thought I was living life. I really did. I really did. I really did. But nonetheless, on the ride to Valdosta, on the way to LSU, was riding in the car. My dad was driving, my mom was in the back seat, and I was in the passenger side. And we were listening to Michael Jackson, I'll Be There. That was the song, yo, I'll Be There. And I just started crying, right? I was crying, and it was just emotional. And I largely because God was talking to me, and God was saying, this is about to be the shift that you needed. This is about to start and propel you in the life that I want you to live. And you're getting closer, and you'll be able to fulfill your purpose. And he was just talking to me. And I was at a low. I was honestly at a low point in life at that moment. And hearing those words from God just touched me in an oh so special way, because prior to that, like, I might have heard from God before, but at that moment I knew it was God, and I knew a shift was about to take place. And so I'm crying, right? And here my mom is in the back seat thinking like I'm crying because I'm about to leave a girl that I was dating back at Valdosta, potentially as I go to LSU. And she was like, it's going to be okay, baby. It's going to be okay. And she was trying to console me in that manner, which I had to tell her, mom, no, mom, that's not what it was. That's not what it is. This is what happened. Boom, 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 XYZ. And so they were like, oh, okay. So, we had a moment, but then everything took off. It took off in a grand way when I was at LSU. We went to orientation, joined the school, all that good stuff. Went into the dorms. You had to go into a dorm like your first semester. I had to do it like freshman dorm, which was an experience of itself. Long story short, right? Like I said, I was smoking there, but when I went to LSU, God was like, don't smoke again or the police are going to come. Long story short, I was cramming for a test, and I was staying up, drinking 5-hour energies. Those are like popping back then. Maybe still now. I don't know. I'm not in college. But I stayed up for a math test and staying up to them. And my roommate at the time, he was a heavy smoker. And I was like, oh, why? Why is my roommate a smoker when I know I need to not smoke, right? Why? God told me don't smoke. So he would always ask, you want to smoke? No, I'm good. I don't smoke. This time, I was like, yes, like I need something to help me go to sleep. And so not just being weak, being vulnerable, I go out to smoke, and then we come back, and then I go to the room to lay down, and I'm like, oh, finally I'm at a peaceful place. My roommate leaves, and it was like perfect sleep for me. Next thing I knew, I heard bang, bang, bang. Like I'm getting chills right now just even thinking about it, because that was the first time that type of experience had taken place in my life before. And I think, it's a dream, like whatever, like it's a dream, or it's my friends, or my roommate's friends. I really didn't have friends. I was new to the school. And so I was like, whatever, it's going to stop. But then it kept going, boom, 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 open the door. And I was like, oh my gosh, God, are those the police? And I'm just sitting there thinking maybe they're going to leave if I don't say anything, if I don't move. But they bang loud, and they start tussling at the doorknob. And I was like, hello. And they acknowledged who they were, told me to open the door. I looked through the peephole, and I kid you not, I don't know, maybe the peephole people look bigger through the peephole, but more than anything, like they look huge, they're like giants. And so I'm looking through the peephole. It had to be at least 6 police officers. I don't know why. It's at a freshman dorm, but 6 police officers on the other end. And I know why it was God. But I opened the door, and they're like, hey, we were told that there was some smoking going on in these dormitories. Are you all smoking in here? And me being me, right? I'm on the upside of life, living the good life, enjoying the church and everything. I said, yeah, I did smoke. I smoked outside with my roommate, snitching. Didn't even think about that. But I was like, yeah, we did. But, we didn't smoke in here. And, they were like, oh, well, we're going to search your room to see if there's any marijuana in this room. And I was like, I don't know if there is. It's my roommates. I smoke with him. Come on, like, well, I was high. What was I thinking, right? Of course he's going to say it was his roommates. Like, duh. But nonetheless, it was an honest truth. But that was the first time in which I experienced the whole experience of being ransacked by police officers, in which they came in and just demolished the room. I feel like they did more to my stuff than my roommates. But more than anything, they flipped my bed. I still am very meticulous about my clothing and my shoes. I keep my shoes in the shoe boxes. They went through all of my shoe boxes, just left the shoes out. Did not put a single shoe back. The audacity. But anyway, they went through all of that. We're asking me all these kind of questions. Why do you have so many shoes? Why do you have so many clothes? Like, what do you do? Yada, 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 so forth and so on. I'm asking all these questions. And man, I was like saved by an angel, because there was a advisor that my family and I came in contact with when we visited the school, and I would do interactions with her and things like that in her office. She would just check on me, and I would go, check in with her, because she knew I was new to the area, didn't know anybody. So very loving lady. And I noticed a picture in her office that was of an officer that was there. And I was like, oh my gosh. So the guy somehow, some way comes out of the dorm and just standing by me. And I said, hey, sir, like, I recognize your photo. I know you don't know me, but I recognize you from a photo. And I stated the woman's name in which I saw his photo in. And he looked like, yeah, I mean, I know her, like, but what are you doing right now? And I was like, sir, if you call her, she will tell you the stand-up guy that I am. Yes, I did this time, but this is not who I am. This is not what I do. And she could vouch for me. Right. And so he looked at me, we locked eyes, and he did what he did, and it stopped because they didn't find anything. Thankfully. Right. Thankfully. My roommate at LSU, you know who you are. I look the same. Thank you for that boarding the room, like, or taking it with you, whatever it was. But they didn't find anything, and I was on probation for a year on campus. It was not like down at the precinct in Baton Rouge, but it was at the school. The school had its own police, and so I was on probation within the school, which meant if I did anything else, it was going to be a situation. I honestly wasn't going to do anything else, especially after that. God had already said not to do it, but then I did it, and then I saw the result immediately, so I was scared, right? I was not doing that again. But all that to say, man, I got stuck on that part. But in it all, like I said, life did get better. I joined a church. I started going to a church faithfully. I started preaching there, sharing God's word, and then even from there, I started doing different things. Leading different ministries, meeting great people, going to different conventions. We start traveling with the pastor, myself, and two other young ministers, man. Great guys. I still talk with one more than the others, but more than anything, great man. I would believe that I can call either one of them anytime, and catch up like nothing ever happened in between. But life went from there. But then from there, I was like, okay, what am I going to do? So I started doing ROTC while I was at LSU. It was the Air Force ROTC. Met some great people and realized I wanted to be a chaplain, largely because on one trip home, I was just praying like, God, what do you want me to do? What is my purpose? Like, this is fun. Do you want me to stay in Baton Rouge, or should I come back to Atlanta? Because at that time, my dad was pastoring. And so my thought was, okay, I'm going to join with him in pastoring and help lead the church, right? And just have fun doing that, because I mean, it is fun. It is fun having fun with my dad, living life with my dad. We have great times together. Now that I'm an adult, it's a different life. When I was a child, it was like, Dad, like, man, he's rough, he's tough, like, man, he's mean. But now as an adult, it's cool, right? We laugh, we joke, there's respect there. So nonetheless, I was praying like, God, what do you want me to do? And God was like, I want you to travel, teaching and sharing my love. And that's extensively what he said. So I was like, all right. So, I could be a military chaplain, because my mom was in the military. My dad was in the military. I have a lot of aunts and uncles in the military, officers and things like that. So I was like, okay, the military is where I'm going to go. So I said I was going to be a chaplain, but then I found out that in order to be a chaplain in the military, you have to have your master's degree. And so I had to go to further schooling. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to just do this back in Atlanta. And so things could be simpler for me, and I could just live life that way, help my dad, and work along with my dad during the process. Boom, shakalaka, plan set. So graduated from LSU, had a great time at the church, said my goodbyes. They gave me a nice party, farewell party. It was so great people. I definitely need to go back this year. I will go back this year and just, commune with the people and things like that. But in it all, came back, started school at Mercer University, where I did get my master's there. But upon my first semester there, long story short, I was going to another school. I'm not going to say the name, because I was in the library one day and overheard a conversation, which I'm very much so like not a nosy person, but this time it just was alerted, but obviously it was God. And they were having a conversation about the school losing their accreditation the next semester. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I can't be going here knowing that I have to have an accredited degree in order to be into the military. So I was like, I need to transfer. So at that moment I started, which was rare because that was probably the second time I went into the library in that summer semester. And so I started at that point looking up different schools in Atlanta that I can go to that was also accredited and things like that. Came upon Mercer, and then boom, I started Mercer in August. I had started that other school in May, did 2 classes for the summer, transferred to Mercer, and then started school in August. I met my wife, Crystal, right? And then we were engaged by December, and then we were married in June, right? So wait, yep, June 6th. And so it was just boom, 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 right? And that was the fast track of what took place there. We got married. We started living life together. She stopped going to school because she was like, I got my diploma. I didn't get my diploma. I got the paper that I wanted, which was marriage. But I was like, cool, babe, do what you do. And we started living life. And what we did when we first got married, I think we were married in June, and by either July or August, we were on a missions trip. And so we had the opportunity to go to Aruba. It was our first mission trip where we had the ability to share God's love as well as teach God's word. She taught, and I was able to be the loving husband that I am and the loving man that I am. And so that was like awesome. And then from there, we started going to the Bahamas on a regular. Then we went to London. Then we went to the United Kingdom. Then we went to South Africa, Port Elizabeth. Yeah, Port Elizabeth, South Africa. Then we've gone also to Kenya on several occasions. And I mean, we've just been having fun doing just that. And so now, where I am, like I said, I started off living well, great household. Then I was living life to please my parents because I wanted to make sure they were, I don't even know the pressure that kids take on. But, living in a 2-parent household is great. It was fun. Also, I guess in the circumstances that I was brought up in, I felt the pressure to make sure that they were viewed in the right way. And I believe they were viewed in the right way if I conducted myself in a certain way. And so I did that. But like I said, it was all great because it kept me along a good path. I could have gone in many different ways, but I stayed along the right path because of the bumper guards of my mom and my dad being viewed in the great light, right? But even beyond that, then I made a shift. Once I was in my master's, or even undergrad. I would even say when I went to LSU, I started living for God. God, what do you want me to do? God, what did you birth me to do? God, what was I born to do? And I started living life through that. And then it accelerated from there. And here I am today, right? All that to say, here I am today. We've been now married, going on 8 years now this year. 2022 is this year. And I mean, I've been having fun. Doing different things, trying different things. We've started and closed various businesses, just doing and trying the different things that we believe that we should be doing. And so now what are we doing? Like, I'm gardening, have a gardening business, have a gardening YouTube channel, have this podcast, looking to do speaking engagements, looking to do motivational speaking, encouragement, and things like that. Also helping businesses start up, but not only start up, but thrive in the area and in the sphere in which they want to operate in. I talked to you already about the Destiny Center that I foresee, in line with Pursuit of Destiny. That's our brand, that's our company. But even seeing the Destiny Center, which is like a co-working space with so many different nuances that, it would take a whole video to talk about the nuances within it. But even to in it all, my desire, like I said, is just to show people how you can make that shift. You can make that shift from living life to please and appeal others to living life that is purposeful to you. We all were born and birthed here to do a certain thing and do a specific thing and to do it well. We do it well because that's why we're here. We do it well because that's our part in this total world. There's so many people, but that's our part to play. And so, hey, you can make that shift. You can make that leap. You can start doing what it is that you were born to do, what you desire to do, what you're passionate to do. And the people that you have lived for will support you. My parents have supported me even through the various things that I've been going through, the various things that I've tried, the various things that initially they didn't agree with, but then I pursued it. I continued with it because it was something that I truly believed and felt that it should be. And then they came along. They saw, oh man, he's actually serious. It's something about being focused and being serious about a thing that will allow for others to be focused and serious, and they'll applaud you at the end of the day and support you as well. But in it all, I'm here for you all. I'm here for those people. I'm here for those people that's in the gap. I'm here for the people that want to do more, know that there's more, but haven't taken that step because you still may be in that in-between gray phase, okay? And so I'm here for you. That's my desire, right? That's my story. That's who I am. And I'm nothing more, nothing less than a vessel being used and empowered by God to share his love, to give insight, to give wisdom, but more than anything, to give you clarity, because there is clarity in the midst of the storm. There's clarity in the midst of the things that you're dealing with, clarity in the midst of the things that you're going through and going with. And I'm here to speak that light. I'm here to speak that life. I'm here to speak that joy and to give you the peace necessary to propel you to the future that you were purposed to pursue. So that being said, great people, man, that's my story. You all pulled it out of me. I probably have to run through that a couple times before I get, comfortable with telling certain parts. But yeah, man, if you could, go ahead and smash that like button, click that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. Follow if you're listening on the various podcast platforms. But more than anything, I thank you all for connecting with me. As you now know, the authentic Rickey, right, from little baby phase in Augusta, Georgia to current phase, and doing the podcast, doing the gardening videos, and supporting my lovely wife and all the various things that she's doing. So with that being said, great people, I love you all. I appreciate you all. I feel like, how like you finish a speech or you finish like sharing something or talking about something that you've been thinking about for so long, and it's like, whew, finally did it. This is the feeling that I have, and I appreciate you all for being able to share it with you all. But with that being said, great people, I love you, I appreciate you, and I will see you on the next video. Peace.